All right, guys. Hey, so today we're going to be learning about circle geometry. So if you just need a refresher on the basics of it, if you really don't remember, I'm going to go through that. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to explain exactly how to do today's activity. So make sure, if you don't need the refresher, you can kind of like fast forward through that. But if you're getting confused on how to do today's activity, make sure you watch that part of the video. So, all right. So let's talk about vocabulary first, right? The vocabulary is super important for geometry. It's going to help you figure out exactly what you're supposed to be doing. So the biggest one is, first of all, circumference. So circumference is this outer edge of the circle, right? And it's, this piece right here. Let me actually give a little pointer, right? So just going all the way around, it's your outer edge of your circle. When we talk about area is the space that's all inside the circle, right? So area, when we did like rectangles and squares, was the area inside. With circle, it's exactly the same thing. Now, with circumference, you knew that as perimeter with a square or rectangle, but now with a circle, it is a special name. It is circumference. So when we talk about the pieces of the circle, something important to note is we actually really look at distance in a circle. So first we talk about radius. So radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the outer edge, right? And it could be to any edge. As long as you're starting in the center, right? Where are you going in the circle from the center to any of its edges? So you might see radius like this, where it's going from the center all the way to the right. You might see it where it's starting in the center and it's going up. You might see it where it's center to the side or center down. As long as it is starting in the center and going to any edge of the circle, that is your radius, all right? So let me move this guy right up here. So let's talk about another important term. So radius is like half of the circle. So we can also talk about something called the diameter. So the diameter is the distance going from one edge of the circle all the way to the other edge, but it's got to go through the center. And that's really important, right? So it's got to go through the center. And it might look something like this, where it's going all the way straight across, right? And kind of slicing it right in half. Diameter could be up and down, okay? Starting from this top edge of the circle, traveling all the way down through the center, down to the other edge. Or it could even look like this, where it's going from one side to the other. That is fine. It's absolutely fine because it is going from one edge to the other edge and it's passing through the center. You can't cut from here to here and say that that's the diameter because you're not going through the center. Okay, so as long as you're going through the center, you're good. All right, so important notes about radius and diameter. So if you notice on our last slide, right, we showed the radius is like going from the center to one edge. Diameter, going from one edge all the way across, passing through the center. So what does that mean? That means that the radius is actually the diameter divided by 2. It's half of the diameter, right? It's a half line. It's going from the center to the edge. Diameter is the full line. So it's basically like having 2 of the radius. So radius times 2. And again, if at any point you need to pause, rewind, rewatch, please feel free. So taking a look at what you are going to be working on today, you're going to have something that looks like this, okay? You are going to be using the 3 formulas we have up top. So we have this guy here. The first one is if we're figuring out the circumference. So that is the area, right? That's the edge, the outer edge of the circle. In order to find out what that distance is, we use pi times the diameter. Or to find circumference, you could do 2 times pi times the radius. And if you want to know the area, which is the space inside the circle, that is going to be pi times the radius squared. And remember, radius squared does not mean the radius times 2. It means the radius times the radius. And when we get into an example, I think it'll make a little more sense for you. But we keep seeing pi on here, right? And we had calculators at school that had the pi symbol on it. But if you don't, it's absolutely fine. For pi, we can just use the number 3.14, okay? And talk a little bit now about exactly how we're going to do that. So on the first example that we have here, okay, we have 7 inches as our radius. And we're going to use that. We're going to use that to help us. Well, if our radius is 7 inches, then what does that mean for our diameter, right? And we can even kind of go back and look at this. Well, diameter is radius times 2, okay? So if 7 is our radius, then our diameter must be 14 inches, okay? Because it's just the radius times 2, okay? These are probably going to be like your easier ones, right? Where you're going from radius to diameter. Then over here, we're trying to find our circumference. So I can look at my formulas. I have 2 that I can pick from. I can either do pi times the diameter or 2 times pi times the radius. So let's say I'll use pi times diameter. So if I want the circumference, right, I know it's going to be pi, which I can use the number 3.14. And I know that I'm going to multiply that by the diameter, which is 14. Okay, so 3.14 times 14, and that gives us our circumference. And let's see here. If I want to just go to calculator, right, I can do 3.14 times, and it was 14. And that gives me 43.96. So I now know my circumference is equal to 43.96. Okay? And that would be inches squared, right? Or I'm sorry, squared, inches. Sorry. Okay. Then I come to my area. All right. My area formula is area. I'm looking right up here, is equal to pi, which I'm using 3.14, times r squared, radius squared. Okay, so what's my radius? It's 7. This does not mean 7 times 2. That to the second power means 7 times 7. And then I'm just popping that into my calculator. So 3.14 times 7 times 7. And that's going to give me 153.86. So my area is equal to 153. My memory is so bad. 0.86 inches squared, right? Or 153.86 square inches. Okay. All right. Beautiful. So with here, I'm going backwards a little bit. I'm given a diameter of 22 inches. Well, remember, my radius is my diameter divided by 2. It's half of my diameter. So if my diameter is 22 inches, my radius is 11. All right, so 11 inches. Beautiful. And then I would use my circumference and area formulas to help me calculate that. So if I want to do pi times diameter, it would be 3.14 times 22. To find my circumference, if I want to find my area, it would be 3.14 pi times the radius times the radius. Okay, and that would give me my circumference and area. So number 3, and well, I have it as number 6 on here, but really number 4, right? These are where it gets a little bit tricky. So with this, you're going to have to move backwards a little bit, right? So in this one, you're given the circumference, and you're trying to find the diameter, and you're trying to find the radius, right? So when you're given the circumference, it's actually easier to go back to the diameter first, but it's totally up to you. So here's what I know. I know that circumference is equal to 3.14 times the diameter, right? I know this because it's up in my formula. So 3.14 times the diameter. Well, if my circumference, they already tell me, is 34.54, then I just need to figure out the diameter. Right? 3.14 times the diameter. Well, guys, this is a one-step equation, right? I need to get the diameter, that d, by itself. In order to do that, I need to use inverse operations. Right now, this is 3.14 times d. So what do? I divide. Okay, that's going to give me my diameter. So I do 34.54 divided by 3.14. So 34.54 divided by 3.14 is going to give me a diameter of 11 inches. So now I'm just using that diameter to find my radius. Well, I know from, again, looking back up here, the radius is the diameter divided by 2, right? So all I'm doing is taking my diameter, which is 11 inches, and dividing it by 2, and that gives me my radius of 5.5 inches. Now that I have my radius, I can use that in my area formula here, right? Remember, my area formula is pi, which we're using 3.14, times the radius times the radius. Pop that whole bad boy into my calculator. So I've got 3.14 times 5.5 times 5.5. Hit enter, and I get 94.985. So my area is equal to 94.985. And we could even approximate that. We could, if we wanted to round to the hundredths place, we could just say it is 94.99. Okay, so that's how we find our area. Finally, if I'm working backwards from area to find my circumference or to find my diameter radius, go right back to my formulas, right? I know when I have area, that means that I also can find my radius. So let's look backwards. So I know that area is equal to 3.14 times the radius times the radius. Okay? Our problem is telling us that area is 254.34. Yes, I'm tired. It's like 9:13. I feel like I'm up all like weird hours of the night, usually till like 1, and then waking up at 6:30. It's bleh. Anyway, okay. So I know that means 3.14 times the radius squared, right? Good Lord. Radius times radius. Okay. So I need to first change this font so it all fits on. Okay. Oh my goodness. What am I going to do with this? Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to get my variables like by themselves, right? I need to get rid of this 3.14, and I do that by dividing. So I've got my 254.34. If I divide that by 3.14, so I can get my R's by themselves, I get 81, right? So it means I now have 81 is equal to the radius times the radius, right? A number times itself. It's like driving me crazy. What number times itself is going to give me 81? Nine! That means my radius is 9. Because 9 times 9 is 81. It's a lot, right? It's a lot. Do your best. You might be able to, but the nice thing with your practice is you don't have to fill everything out. It's a like a matching one. So you might be able to do some of this with just process of elimination. So that's nice, right? So you have your radius of 9, which means your diameter is 9 times 2. So your radius is 18. Lovely. Then I can use that to find my circumference, because circumference is equal to pi, which is 3.14, times the diameter, which we just found out our diameter is 18. So 3.14 times 18. Hiding downstairs from the kids. You can probably hear them through the door right there, but so far they haven't found me. If they knew I was here, they'd be banging on it. So it's 56. So the circumference, the measure of the outside of the circle, is equal to 56.52 inches. All right, so I hope this helps. Rewind, pause, reach out for help, do whatever you need to do, right? We are here for you 1,000% of the way. I love you so much. Have a great day. Happy Monday. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.